what are you guys doing? Just step out of the car for me. Just stay right there. Just keep walking up here. Turn around, face the car for me. That's it. Hands on top of your head. That's it. Interlace your fingers. You don't have any guns, knives, or anything on you, do you?
It's a fact, sad but true, that most law enforcement officers who are shot with their own gun. Just 25 years ago, we could look at the feeble leather duty holsters and make a case that they were not tough enough to withstand the demands of everyday use, much less the abuse from an aggressive takeaway attempt. Today's modern holsters are anything but feeble. They're a combination of high-tech materials and ingenious designs that produce a holster that is much more secure than its ancestors of just a quarter century ago. These holsters offer multiple levels of security that allow the officer to draw quickly and, even more importantly, reholster and secure the weapon quickly without having to fumble or even look at the holster, so that the officer can keep all of his or her attention on the suspect or threat. And while these holsters are much stronger and ingenious than ever before, the fact remains that an officer is still 3 times more likely to be shot with his or her own gun. And that's because it's the officer's responsibility to be the first line of defense in preventing a takeaway. Hello, I'm Lenny Magill. In this program, we will explore some basic and advanced techniques that will allow you to sharpen your mindset and your physical skills to defeat a takeaway attempt. We'll look at joint manipulation techniques, misdirection, simple foot stomps, and even knee and kicking techniques. We'll discuss striking, pinching, and pressure point techniques that are designed to weaken your attacker's will and desire and help you create time to outlast a larger opponent. Finally, we'll tie all of these together as we show you how to defeat a takeaway attempt and gain the upper hand in a confrontation. The information you're about to see is being presented by Barry Barker, a 25-year martial art instructor, black belt, and trainer to numerous law enforcement professionals in the state of California. This program is designed to help you maintain and retain control of your handgun when involved in a violent takeaway attempt. The information applies to law enforcement professionals who carry a handgun in a duty holster or in a concealment holster. I sincerely hope that you never have to use any of these techniques you're about to see. But if you do, I wish you victory so that good rules over evil. Now, let's get started with handgun retention techniques for law enforcement and concealed carry.
Okay, we're going to start out with some concepts and principles of martial arts and just lessons in fighting, leveraging balance, establishing your base, checking, tenderizing, and so we're going to go through these one by one. We're going to teach basic striking, pinching, a little bit of pressure point work, and then we'll apply that to the weapon retention concept. So we're going to start with establishing your base. So if you're attacked, let's say you're thrown in a bear hug arms, right? So his job is to try to lift me up. So he would want to get his center under my center and lift me up. Okay? So my job would be to get his center away from my center and establish my base. So I need to establish balance or I can't do anything. I can't hit him. I can't fight. I'm just going to be thrown down. So I've got to establish a base, right? Create a position where I have balance, right? Check him so that he can't hit me, say, with his knee or his leg. So this is an idea right here of checking his hip with my hands, keeping his hip away from my hip. Now, even though he's bigger than I am and stronger than I am, he can't lift me at this point. Go ahead. Right? Okay, so I've established my base, right? I've checked him. I've positioned him so he can't hit me with anything. And now that's kind of where the fight begins. And then I'm going to insert other movements, tenderizing techniques.
Okay, so you saw what may be the most important element of this entire program. I'd like for you to try this sometime, to experiment what it feels like to force your weight to the floor and to make it difficult for an opponent to move you. Regardless of their size in relation to yours, if you do this correctly, they're going to have a harder time lifting you, and that's because you have moved your weight away and below the bad guy's center of power, making him have to use more arm muscle. And we all know that your arms are not nearly as strong as your core. You know, quite simply, what we want to do is we want to take our butt and move it as far away as possible from their butt and put it below their butt. Now, once you understand this, the rest of the techniques you're about to see will become a lot easier and make a lot more sense. So take the time to practice this with a partner. Check their hips with your hands to keep them away from you if you can. And if you're in law enforcement and you've got a duty holster on, use one hand and keep your other hand on the gun. Practice that to get them away. So as they come up to grab you, you're keeping yourself away and below their center of power. Now, let's move on to our next technique.
There's a concept in this case where this is a large man attacking a smaller man, so he could overwhelm me with his power. And so if I get in a position where I can't physically get him off of me, I need to do what we call riding the storm. I just got to ride out that storm. I got to allow him to expend energy and not allow myself to be injured or put out of position in the process. So we'll do this in relationship to the gun video when the person reaches in with two hands to grab the weapon. I realize I don't have it on right now, but as he reaches in, two hands, straight in, yeah, this one. Right, from here, he has control of me. So all I'm going to do in this technique we'll show you later is I'm going to attach myself to him, and then I'm just going to ride it out because I can't make him let go physically. I can't harm him enough to make him let go. So I've got to just wait for him to give up on this position. Same thing with choking. Let's say he threw me in a choke. I need to defend the position and ride the storm and just not allow myself to be choked. Okay, so these are called riding the storm techniques, where you find a position that you can maintain until the person gets tired, gives up on the position, tries for another position. You have to wait for a window of opportunity to move to, and so that's that concept.
You can almost relate this technique to the rope-a-dope technique. If you are outsized and the aggressor has a grip on your gun, you can always use the strength of the holster and your belt to physically trap the gun in your holster. And, as Barry said, ride out the storm to either wait for help to arrive or physically or mentally exhaust the opponent so that they give up and give you a chance to try some other techniques, which will hopefully allow you to buy some time, create some distance, and get in a better position to retain and or draw your holster. Again, one of the key elements to this, as you trap the bad guy's hand on the gun, make sure you take that offhand, and rather than try to fight him, because again, a lot of his attention is going to be on the weapon, rather than try to fight him like this, attach that arm, your offhand, to his arms, so that you're attaching your entire body weight onto the arm that's trying to steal the gun from you. That will give you more power to control his arm and more power to control the handgun in your holster. Let's move on.
Then we have, the next thing we have, joint mismatches. Now, even though he's stronger than me, I'm stronger than his fingers, okay? So if I'm able to get a finger, however it presents itself, then I can take advantage of that. Now, the general motion with finger locks and actually any kind of locking movements is this forward push, like this rocking motion with the hand, this wrist rocking motion. If you get that, right, and you start manipulating the person around, right, you can take them different directions. Okay, so little finger's good here, right? I've got the same rocking motion right here. Grab, make a bar, one end of the joint, other end of the joint, and then just lever. If you can get two hands on it, that's going to be even better. Okay, so my arms are stronger than his fingers. So that's the concept of mismatching a joint.
These initial base techniques should not be considered standalone techniques. They should be combined with other techniques to allow you to get the best chance to get this bad guy off your weapon. So think of joint manipulation techniques as a follow-up to riding out the storm once you've exhausted your opponent. As you trap his hand against the gun in the holster, look for a finger that you can possibly pry away, or look for something that you can do with his offhand as you trap his arm there. If you can get down here and grab something, a thumb or a little finger. It may not be the first instance that will do something, but more likely 10 to 15 seconds or 20 seconds into the scuffle, when the aggressor starts to get tired and feel that this is not working, and he starts to loosen up his grip or do something different or tries to do something different, at that point is when you have a chance to go for a finger and just twist it off to the point where it won't work anymore. I mean, you're in a life or death situation. Your fingers are very fragile. You don't think that because you're grabbing hold of his finger and you think it would hurt you, that it's going to hurt the bad guy. He may not feel pain. He may be so amped up on drugs or just be so crazy that you can bend his finger off and he's not going to give up. So don't expect miracles when trying these techniques, and don't you give up. Yank that finger off and go to the next finger and do it again.
The next concept would be misdirection. We can do the same thing with lock, say like a wrist lock or something, where I start to make him move one direction. So let's say I attack him. Don't take that step. As I attack him, let's say I attack his elbow joint with my body or something, and I'm gonna make him take this step with his left foot. So I do this, he takes that step. At that moment, his body momentum is moving in this direction, which means that it's easier to take him down in this direction, in the opposite direction. So redirecting a person's energy, if you get them moving one direction, now would be a time where you could take them to another direction. You can do that with striking as well, in that you don't just go for one strike. One strike sets up another strike, sets up another strike. Right? So you put strikes together, and then his body can't be prepared for a combination of strikes. He may take the first one. He's a tough guy. Wham! He takes the first punch, but he's open for the second punch. He's open for follow-up movements. So you want to connect movements so his body and his mind are not prepared for the follow-up, and that's a really important concept.
Now, a lot of these techniques rely on the fact that you are aware of your surroundings and have the opportunity to take evasive action before the bad guy even gets close to your gun. We're going to cover that later on this program, but this misdirection technique can be extremely effective as it allows you to move a larger opponent with very little effort. The object is to implement the first strike and follow up immediately with another strike or a shift in a different direction. What we're expecting to happen is that as you shift, the bad guy compensates and gets his weight out of balance. This will enable you to control this sequence of events as your opponent's just trying to recover from a series of attacks. So the key is that first shift gets them out of balance and get thinking about doing something instantly to take them even more so out of balance, going the other way. Because as you know, in a wrestling match, once you get out of balance, your immediate intent is to get back up into balance. So if you can shift, pull the bad guy out of balance, and when he starts to come back into balance, you take him that same way, you'll use his body weight along with your technique to move him that much more effectively.
Now, as that relates to hitting, when it comes to striking, you need to have acceleration. Acceleration means that your weapon, in this case your empty hand, is got to be moving faster when it hits the target than when it stops, than when it starts. Now, it's really common, people who do striking push their strikes, so that it becomes a pushing movement. Well, there's no explosion at the end of that movement. So if you're going to hit somebody, you got to accelerate the weapon. So when it gets to the target, it's moving faster than when it started. So you can penetrate the surface or cause a desired reaction. If you just push, then the person's going to be able to take that much easier. So when we get to the striking component, remember that if you're going to strike somebody, you want to accelerate your weapon so it moves quick. Now it can hit and come back off, or it can hit and go through. So in the case of, say, a kick, say a stomp kick to the knee, here, I'd accelerate my weapon, but at the end I'd push through the target. Where if I'm hitting him, say a palm strike in the face, I might just snap it, or I might hit and drive through. All that would be good. Liver strike, same thing. Maybe I'm going to snap off, maybe I'm going to hit and drive through. Okay, but the main thing is to accelerate and then either snap off instantly or drive through with your body mass. Depends on the type of strike.
Most of you know how to throw a punch, but what I feel is important to remember is the follow-up striking concept. Don't just throw one strike and look to see if anything's going to happen. Throw several and put yourself in a position so that you can disengage, gain distance, and draw your weapon. After all, we don't really want to be in a hand-to-hand fight with these bad guys. We have no idea what they're all about. Use the striking techniques to distract your opponent away from the weapon. And again, look to disengage. Strike them, get away. Strike them twice, 3 times, get away. Gain some distance, take some cover, put something between you and the bad guy, and then you have an opportunity to draw your weapon.
Now, it's really important to know how to take a punch because you don't always know you're going to be in a fight. Someone sucker punches you, and if they get a good punch, they hit hard, you don't take it well, you get knocked down, knocked out. Knowing how to keep your gun in your holster isn't going to help you at that point. So just basic thing is when something's in motion, when his punch is in motion, in his mind's eye, he's going to focus his punch where the target is as he sees it. Okay? So of course if you're able to just move, duck, and, if your reflexes are good or you have some training, you're able to avoid that, you have some awareness of body positioning, that's fine. But if you're at that point in the hit where you just know you're going to get hit and you can't avoid it, what you want to do is you want to align your body structure so it's strong. You know you're going to get hit, so have him hit a part of your body that can take it better, and then close the distance between you and his punch. Basically jam his punch so you catch his punch before it accelerates onto the target as he perceives it. So as his punch is coming at me, I know at this point in space, I know I'm going to get hit. I can't physically get out of the way. His arm's moving fast. I know I'm going to get hit. Tuck the body, align the structure of the body so it aims towards his punch. Use the crown of your head, not your forehead, the beginning part of your hairline, strong part of the skull, same part you use for headbutting. Basically, I'm going to headbutt his punch, right? But I'm not going to just get that position and wait for him to hit it because he's accelerating and he's focused at that point in space. So once I do that, I'm going to move into his punch because I'm going to be able to catch his punch before it focuses. And so the effect would be jamming his punch. So as he threw a punch, I'm here. I'm going to lean into it. And this is probably going to hurt his hand more. It's going to hurt my head. I may have a headache, but it's going to be a small price to pay for not getting knocked out and having your weapon taken from you.
And that would probably apply to kicks and all kinds of strikes, right? Anytime you can jam it up a little bit before he gets that full extension.
Yes, that would be true. Yeah, in kicks, there's a few different realms there with kicks. There's a few different explanations on kicks. But in this context, most fights that I've ever seen, people throw a right hand. They just step and they unload. Untrained people mostly throw the right hand. They want to hit this part of your body. They throw a right hand at your face. They want to knock you out. Most people aren't trained. They wind up. You got time to see that. But if you're not looking, you're writing a ticket or whatever, and you look up and that punch is right there, right? You want to just position your body instantly and just basically headbutt their fist. And it sounds like it's not a desired technique, but it's better than the alternative, which is getting cold-cocked in the face.
So even the 6 inches towards that is really a big difference.
Definitely 6 inches, but you don't even need 6 inches. But yeah, just as it depends on where he is in space. But yeah, if I can travel 6 inches, great. If I had 6 inches, I may have more time to slip it to the side, or it's better to not get hit at all, obviously. But this is that point in space where it's right there and you're not stopping it. You just headbutt it. Travel a couple inches, lower the head, adjust the body alignment, move into the target, hit with a strong part of your body that can take that punch. Essentially, from his perspective, he's punching a bowling ball at this point. I just threw a bowling ball at his fist. And I'm going to be okay, have a little headache, might be a little lightheaded, but I'll be okay.
What about the flip side of, guys who are watching this who are thinking that maybe I should roll with a punch versus, if I see this coming to my side of my face, can I just roll out of it?
Instinctually, that's a good idea if you can do it. Rolling with a punch is a highly developed skill that boxers primarily develop, and it's from taking a lot of punches over years and years and developing that ability to roll. You have to be able to train more in a boxing style where you're going to take punches with a padded glove over and over at a speed where you can learn how to ride with that. Unless it's just your instinct, it would be better just to jam it. Period of time, as the fist is coming, right? Riding it, not always good because his follow through. Most people who throw untrained punches follow through big. They just sweep the whole area, right? So either, it depends on the punch too. Some punches are round and some punches are straight. Trained people tend to throw more straight punches. Untrained people tend to throw more round punches. So a round punch is easy to duck, especially in my case over him because he's so much taller than me. It's easy for me to get under his shoulder. If he were trying to duck my punch, it'd be a lot harder. Straight punch, you can just move outside of it. Always better to be outside the arm. If you can get outside their body, their leg, their arm, you have a much stronger position. All of most of his strength is pulling to the center line. His bicep muscles, his pecs, all pull towards the inside. So if I get trapped here, he can just wrap his arm up, and now I'm stuck in this space. Right? If I'm able to get out here, right, now he's out of balance. He's not strong. going to the backside. And I can attack his joint, I can attack him, I can sweep him, you know, I'm behind him. I can do all kinds of things to him, right, once I get behind him. So let's review that real quick. So if he throws a big round punch, great to duck it. If you can duck it, a little slower punch, round punch again. If you can't duck it, bang, just have him punch this bowling ball right here. Plenty thick to take this punch. If he throws a straight punch, if you can get outside of it, great. Follow up, do your other stuff. If you can't get all the way, just take it on the forehead, right? His hand's probably going to break if you throw a hard punch.
Most untrained fighters are not going to even have the right fist, and they're going to hit with the wrong part of the.
Yeah, they stick out the finger. They do all kinds of loose fist stuff. Right, exactly.
And they'll break that little finger.
Probably several things in their hand. Yeah, these 8 bones in the hand, and these knuckles break really easy under that impact, and it's gonna jar the whole mechanism back to the wrist. They won't be able to hit you again that day.
Let's hope none of us have to use this concept. If we do, we've got a little too close. We weren't really paying as much attention as we should have been. But, you know, punches can come out of anywhere. So anytime you can jam the opponent's punch, even by just an inch or two, you greatly decrease the power that is behind that punch. Remember, most untrained fighters want to wind up and punch you in the face. Here they're coming. So if you're aware, you should have the time to see it coming, and your best bet is to take evasive step. Hopefully get to the outside of their body. Somehow get back and away so you can get behind that guy's arm. But if not, think about jamming that punch using the round part of your head. This head, as we discussed, is strong, it's heavy, it's designed to take a blow. The round parts, again, up here on the crown where the hair line is. If you get that punch, that head, and get punch in midair, and you jam a guy's arm about right here, you're gonna mess his hand up because he doesn't have full extension and he really doesn't have full power. So more than likely, there's gonna be more damage to his hand than to your head. And speaking of heads, that's our next section.
On the idea of headbutting, I want to demonstrate how to throw a correct headbutt. There's 4 main parts of the head that you do for headbutting, depending on the opponent's position and your position. First is the front headbutt, which we pretty much covered on the defending the punch, where it's the crown of the head right at the base of the hairline, right above the forehead, not the forehead. That's not a good spot, but just above that. Okay. Also, when you throw a headbutt, you want to use your whole body. Just put down like this. Yes. So here's the target that I'm going to hit. Don't want to just use your neck. For one, there's no power, and 2, if you miss, you're going to strain your neck. So headbutting, you throw your whole body into the target, right? Using the crown of the head. So that's one of the targets. The way you throw it is the same, in that you use the whole body to throw. If I do it with the side, I'm going to use this part of the head that's just even with your ears. It's called the parietal lobe. It's the bumpy area on the side of your skull. That's also a thick area of the skull. Be careful that you don't headbutt with your temple. Your temple's not up to that contact. You'll knock yourself out. Parietal lobe would be here. So same, if he's in that position, of course, to throw this move, then I would do it that way, right? Throw the whole body, not just the head. Injure the neck. You'll injure your neck and it won't be as powerful. So whole body, throw it in. Of course, if that was his face, or it'd have a better effect. Now, rear headbutt, straight, occipital lobe, right here. This roundness in the back of your head, that's the contact point. So if he's got me from the rear, right, same thing here. Throw the whole head back. Put my head so I don't hit you. Okay, so you just see by how forcefully he's being moved that if that hit him in the nose or the jaw hinge or maybe even the collarbone to loosen up that arm, it's a fairly effective strike. But you have to throw it right, because if you miss it, you hurt yourself. And if you throw it wrong, you won't have the right amount of power.
But almost anybody who does that right, whether it be a 120-pound woman or a 200-pound man, if you put your weight behind it, not just your neck muscles, but your weight, you're really going to be impactful, right?
It's a 120-pound bowling ball. Somebody just hit you like that with a 120-pound bowling ball. So obviously, 220-pound bowling ball, it's all devastating.
Headbutts are tremendous weapons because most opponents never see them coming or even suspect that you could or would strike them with your head. But as Barry said, your head is like a 15-pound bowling ball. And if you can use your body correctly with it, you can strike with a lot of force. Remember, keep your body rigid and move the whole thing. Anybody who has ever banged their head on a table as they got up, sitting down there looking for something and boom, you know how much force that you can have with your whole body, your core, as it moves. The key is to keep your neck rigid and lunge with your core, your torso. Use the power of the largest muscles in your body to throw this 15-pound bowling ball at the bad guy's nose, eye socket, ear, jaw, or even temple. I personally believe the headbutt is an extremely effective way for you to thwart a takeaway attempt for several reasons. First, the very nature of the attack is up close. You're in close, the guy's trying to get your gun, his head is going to be right there. Second, the focus is that the bad guy's looking at your weapon, he's trying to grab your weapon, so he's really not thinking that you're going to even strike him with your head. And your hands have got to be busy, you've got to be right here holding onto that gun, holding onto his arm. Your head is right here, it's more than likely going to be 6 or 18 inches away from the bad guy. A perfect target for a surprise headbutt.
Okay, our next thing is using your legs. So sometimes you might be in an enclosed position. Now we're not talking about fighting from out here where I'm going to do some big kickboxing move, right? Because we don't have that kind of space. And for what we're covering here, you just can draw your weapon and keep them away from you. But we're talking about somebody who's in on you. They're in close. Now how you kick somebody from here, right? Because you're thinking kicking, you need a lot of space. So there's some kicks that are real useful here depending on your positioning, their positioning. Okay, one of those is an inside sweeping kick. And it's where I'm going to use the inside angle of my leg and hit with the bottom of my foot. Now I don't want to hit with this part, I want to hit with this part. So as I attack him here, right, so this is an in-close move. I can use it to attack the knee. When you attack the knee, you want to attack on the inside of the knee, you want to attack just above the knee because that's where the muscle is going to get shut down. Okay? If you're going to use it as a sweeping maneuver, right here, just above the ankle bone, what's called the medial malleolus, just above that soft area right there in the ankle, that's the spot to hit. So if we're in here maneuvering, I can do that to break his balance, right? So I'm not going to hit him hard because we're just training, but as I hit him, he's going to move his foot for me so I don't have to make him do it. His leg goes out, so now his balance is a little different, right? And I'm able to follow up with other things once I've changed his balance. So that's the combination techniques we talked about, adding a move after move. So it'd be great that I broke his balance, but if I don't do anything, he just gets his balance back again. Okay, so you have to follow up with things. So inside sweep, low leg, upper leg. It could be with either leg depending on what angles are open.
And that's depending on how he's holding you and how you're wrestling around. And
like if you're in a clinch position, so we're here, we're kind of clinched, we're kind of wrestling, or in this, I'm trying to keep my weapon, whatever, right? We're here, I need to try to tenderize him, make him want to let go. So, maybe I'm doing my headbutts, I'm attacking him different ways, trying to get him to release. So we're working close in kicks that use in close. So now we have the knee. Knee's a great weapon. But we want to utilize it as best we can. The knees we're going to use are mostly forward, possibly upward. If I'm able to get his head here, maybe I could come up with the knee, right? But most of the time, the knee's going to go straight forward on a trajectory that's perpendicular to my opponent. Okay, so to do that, for one, I need a sharp weapon. So you got to pull your foot out of the way so your knee becomes sharp. And then I need to get my body mass behind it. So I have a certain amount of backup mass, of force running behind it. So I'm going to use my hips to drive my knee. You may also notice that gives my knee more penetration. So it makes my knee go deeper into the target. And this is also where acceleration is going to come in. We talked about acceleration. If I move my knee in slow motion, right, his body has time to absorb that energy, right? If I drive it fast, then his body's less prepared to absorb that. Okay, so the knees, we're in here clinching again, we're fighting for position, or I'm trying to, keep control, right? If I see an opening, in this case, I see that my knee can hit the inside of this knee. We talked about that position above the knee here, right? See how his weight shifted and his balance was broken, right? Again, here, right? And then, so I can follow up on that. Maybe I'll do another one, right? So once somebody starts losing their balance, they usually try to get their balance back. That's like their main job at that moment, and so they forget about a lot of other things. So hopefully you can get an opportunity to make them release your weapon. Of course, you can hit the groin. We're in here. Groin strike is good. Hit solar plexus. Hit solar plexus. To find the solar plexus on somebody with clothes on, just draw an X in your mind from hip to shoulder, and in the middle of the X is the solar plexus. So X, X, solar plexus right there. Okay, so you don't have to worry about them seeing their body without a shirt.
So the knees, you don't necessarily have to be a trained athlete, really, just to recognize the striking points and just put the knee there.
That's right. That's right. It's being aware of what weapons are open, and of course you have to have balance. So if we're here and all the weight's on my right leg, well, I'm not going to be able to knee with that knee. So maybe I'm going to come this way with the knee. Right? So I want to feel my body weight and know where I have balance. That gets back to establishing your base. Getting a base position that you can maneuver from, ride the storm out, and then tenderize it. Make the person want to let go, make them realize they're not gaining an advantageous position, and make them want to try to move to a different position, which will give you an opening.
As you watch this program, I hope you realize that the techniques we're showing are designed to be implemented without a lot of training or practice. Simple leg kicks or knee strikes can be really effective, especially a knee strike. What we're hoping to accomplish here is to open your mind to the options that you have available. A knee strike from just about anybody will deliver a lot of hurt if it's directed to the right area of the opponent. Now, another effective yet overlooked defensive move is the foot stomp.
Now, the next kick, we're calling it a stomp kick because we can use it on the feet from a lot of different directions. Right? However I'm turned, I can stomp down. So we're stomping with the heel, not the toes. Right? You want the alignment that runs even with the leg, that goes up the leg, so you have a strong support behind your stomp. So I can stomp across. I can stomp straight down if he were in front of me. If he were behind me, I'd stomp this direction. Right? Straight back maybe. Easy to miss this one. I'd rather turn. It also allows my vision to open up a little bit by turning my body. Okay? If I'm a little further away, or if he's behind me, right, from here, I can do the same stomp kick to the knee. We talked about it, that point above the knee. That's where the muscle shuts down on the inside. Right? If I'm inside, I can kick that knee. See how his body weight's shifting? That's going to shut down the muscle. He's going to move on that kick. If I kick him lower than that, it's like kicking a tree stump, especially if he's strong, determined, he's just going to take it. So above the knee, of course, if he had this leg in front and I were on this side of him somehow, then of course to the outside of the knee causes a medial strain, a strain on the inside of the knee, and the other one is more to open. Right? The body adjusts fast here. You're probably not going to injure the knee that direction, but it's to break his balance. Okay, now I do this, boom, he's out of position. I do this, so now I have injured his ankle. So I put two moves together. I did the stomp kick to open the knee, and then the sweep kick, another version of the stomping kick to the inside of his ankle. So he's gonna be on the ground for a little while after that.
And the feet are particularly vulnerable, are they not? Even with shoes on, you can still really hurt someone.
Better with shoes. Yeah, better with the shoes. It's good to train without shoes because you learn how to control your ankles and your feet, position your body properly, and move the energy in the right direction. But as far as applying a kick, once you know how to apply it, if you have the extra weight of a shoe and the extra strength of a shoe behind your force, then yeah, it's going to do that much more damage.
So if you've got a law enforcement officer with, say, duty boots on, and he's wrestling with a guy with flip-flops or sandals on, he's got a distinct advantage.
Definitely take advantage of that, yes.
Because the feet, really, once you injure that, the guy is immobile or hopping.
Yeah, one of the ideas with injuring somebody is you can't assume that they're going to feel pain. So if you assume that they feel no pain, and then your goal becomes not to make them feel pain, but to affect the structure of their body. So it doesn't matter if they feel it or not. If the bones are no longer connected, then the structure is not aligned. Then they're not going to be able to function, even if they aren't doing it by choice. If the ankle's dislocated, they want to get up and fight you some more, but they just physically can't stand on the limb. Absolutely, feet are real vulnerable.
There's a lot of tiny, fragile bones in the foot that can easily be broken from the top, especially if you're wearing boots and the bad guy's wearing soft shoes or flip-flops or even barefoot. If he's reaching for your gun, your goal is to trap his hand, trap his arm, get your weight low. Remember, ride out that storm. And here's a perfect opportunity. As he's got all of his attention on your weapon, perfect opportunity for you to stomp using the heel of your boot onto the top part of his toes. Right there where not necessarily the toes themselves, but just where the larger bones come down from the ankle. Those are the bones that can be broken, and those are the bones that will not allow the person to walk very effectively. And hopefully will redirect their attention instantly. And speaking of redirecting their attention, this next technique can end a takeaway attempt in a New York second.
One other kick we want to do is called the upward hook kick. Now this is a kick where someone's behind you, where you take your foot and you lift your heel into their groin. The idea with this is to hit the testicles up underneath, hit the testicles against the pubic bone. By doing that, anybody who's seen or maybe experienced a foul ball going off the plate and coming back up under your groin, and then you're pretty much done for the day. You sit on the ground for a while, maybe people carry you off, right, because you can't function. Same thing here, up, down. Remember acceleration. If I do this slowly, he'll have time to maneuver his body out of the way, or maybe he could take it, even though even slow, it's a real tender area. But if I do it fast, right, you're going to have a better effect. Now, I hit him on the leg, which is why he was able to take that. Okay, so that's a training. That's a way to train. Of course, if you have pads, things like that you could hold there so your partners can learn how to do this maneuver quick and hard, it's going to be a really effective move. If you do this hard and fast on somebody, they're done. They are done.
Now, is that a difficult kick? It's kind of an unusual movement, and obviously you should train that, I guess.
It's a simple motion because all you're doing is contracting your hamstrings, right? When you contract your hamstrings, bring your foot up. It's a basic stretch that a lot of people do. Here, stretching the quadriceps, right? You pull this up, stretch the muscles in the front. So you just fire the muscles, bring your foot up. You can hit your own hand and just develop the speed, right? The efficiency also, you don't want your knee to go forward and then back, takes too long. Just take the weight off your foot and then just lift your heel to your butt. Just kick yourself in the butt.
Well, I think a lot of people don't think, it's interesting, that you say that. It doesn't appear that it's got a lot of power behind it because you're not making a big sweeping motion, but it probably does, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't take a sledgehammer to kill a fly. So if you have a reasonably powerful weapon attacking a weak target, very effective.
Okay. Yeah, that would hurt.
It does hurt. Yeah, and that's another one of those where a small woman could take out a big guy. Presuming she could reach his groin. Of course, if his groin were here and her foot only went this high, well, then she'd have to do something else. But definitely a very powerful, effective fight-ending technique.
I think you'll be surprised how fast you can master this simple kick. Go ahead, stand up now, and place your palm behind your butt, and try it a couple times. I'm surprised at the force that I can deliver. And I've only done this a couple times, but it's actually pretty amazing, not only how fast you can do it, but how high you can get that leg without really a whole lot of effort. It's definitely a technique that you want to have in your arsenal, as it can be extremely effective and can stop a fight before it even starts. And if you think about it, if a bad guy grabs you from behind, usually his legs are widened out, and he may actually be hunched over a little bit so that he trying to get his weight underneath you. So as he puts his arms around you and he's down here like that, perfect setup for a snap kick. And if you do it quickly and with some force, and you get him anywhere in the groin, testicles, the fight's going to be over. Now, coming up in this next section, we're going to discover some basic pressure point techniques.
Now we're just going to do a little bit of pressure point work. Pressure points are interesting and they are effective, but they're hard to get. But I'm going to introduce you to a few of those, and then you can play with those on your own. Remember, always do these things with control. It's really important that when you train with training partners that you don't injure each other. Okay, a few reasons. One is they're probably your friends. Hopefully they're your friends and you're training together, right? Two, you want them to be able to reciprocate, right? And also you don't want them to be injured where they're unable to train. Now you don't have any training partners. You can't get better. You need people to train with. So don't hurt your training partners. Do all these moves I'm showing you with control, and and maybe just to the brink where your opponent says, oh, that's working. You know, you want them to feel it, but you don't want to injure them or leave permanent marks or make them where they don't want to play with you anymore. So two knuckle strikes that we're going to do. One is index knuckle. When we hit with the index knuckle, this is going to send energy down the channels. Different channels in the body. Not important to go in that right now, but this is going to send energy down the body. This middle knuckle, this is going to send energy up the body. So I'm going to show you one of each, 3 different ways to apply these. Now you can push into points, you can rub on points, and you can hit points. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of each with these 2 fingers. Okay, first one, index knuckle. Let's say he's holding something in my hand, in his hand, my wrist in this case, or a weapon. I take this knuckle and I put it right at the base of the radius bone, right on the inside of the thumb line, right? Put it right there about an inch up, and then rub back and forth. It makes the hands let go. Take this one knuckle, put it right here, rub back and forth, just within like a 1-inch surface area. Here, as you pull the weapon out, his hand will release and let go. Second one, strike point. I can take this same knuckle and I can hit the anterior shoulder, the front of the shoulder, right? You have this ball of shoulder right here, and right in the middle, there's a nerve bundle. And when I take this knuckle and I stick it into that nerve bundle, it's going to shoot a signal all the way down his arm and make his hand release. Right? Like I said, these are hard to get because people are moving and stuff, and if you only rely on this, you may not, and you don't get it, then you're not going to know what else to do. So keep everything in mind. But if I'm able to, if he's holding me here, I'm not going to do it on him hard, but I take this and I hit him right in that little pocket of his shoulder, just strike him there with this knuckle, right? And then that's going to make the hand release. The third one of these, turn a little bit sideways, is going to be a push point. I'm going to do this right behind his earlobe. Where his earlobe is, right either behind it or under it, depending on how big the earlobe is. If I take this same knuckle, right, and I push it into that point, really uncomfortable, it's going to shut down everything on that side. He's going to be thinking about that. The hand's going to release. He's going to feel this pain all the way down his body.
That's an unusual thing for most people because you want to have a closed fist. Obviously, I guess you're making that as a point so that you can get into those little areas. Right. Because there's a small area that you can affect this to. You
want to have a sharp weapon. Sharp weapons are very effective. In fact, punching is one of the worst ways to hit somebody. It's a very dangerous way to strike. The best punchers in the world are boxers, and the first thing boxers do before they punch anybody is wrap their hands, put on gloves, right, and train on the bags, learn how to punch right. So people who just throw a punch first thing, really dangerous for the hands. It may feel good to the spirit, but real dangerous for the body. The wrist, you have too much rotation on the wrist. The knuckles, you have the small surface of the knuckle with all your body weight, however much you weigh, accelerated, all that weight accelerated and hitting onto this little bone right here. This bone in your hand is just not up to that. It's gonna break. If your wrist doesn't collapse, this bone's gonna break. So we want to get movements that are easier on our body that are more effective on our opponent's body. And especially hitting a point, even if I punched him with this, I'd have to hope that one of these knuckles slips into that point. And it doesn't even fit that well at the angles that we're doing. Now maybe punching the shoulder, this one possibly, but it's better if you can get the exact point. But on the ear point here, just push away. Play with this with your friends. Be nice. They'll tell you when it hurts.
These pressure points may be hard to reach, but when you do, they can be very effective. You're basically working with the nervous system of the body, and most people can't take this type of stimulation. What you should remember about pressure points is that these can be used when you don't have the ability to throw a punch. So when you're tied up in a takeaway attempt, use these pressure point techniques to make them release. If done correctly, they'll have no other choice but to release because it's just, it's just overstimulating their whole system. They've got to get away. Try it. Now here's a couple more pressure point ideas to help you gain control of a situation.
So the middle knuckle is going to send energy up the body. So I'm going to use, for the angle I'm at, I'm going to use my other hand. But take this knuckle. Now remember, it doesn't stick out very far. Don't do this because then this becomes an unstable striking surface. Just make a regular fist, slip your hand up 3/4 of an inch, maybe, an inch at the most. That's all you need. If you go an inch into a point, very effective. Now under his arm, just at the base of his armpit where the hair ends, there's a real sensitive area right there. Okay? So now I'm pushing it right now. You can see him moving away from it because it's tender. if I take this knuckle and I strike it, then that's going to cause an imbalance in his ability to focus. And he's going to release whatever it is he's doing and lose his concentration. So if we're in here fighting and somehow he's got me in a position here, maybe I can hit in here, or you could even push this point, works good too. This is also a good push point. I have it as a striking point here, but push point works too. If you get your knuckle on that point and drive it in, works really good for separating us. See, he wants to get away from me as soon as possible when I do that. Another one, the one I have as the rub point on this for this tape, is the sternum. Right between the nipple line, right between the chest. You take your knuckle and you just rub that right there. Very sensitive spot, makes people back up. It kind of takes your machismo away, takes your energy away. Notice when men are angry, their chests puff up. The chests get big. Well, you're hitting the middle of that. You're just popping the balloon. So yeah, exactly. Take that right there and just hit in that point and just deflates the chest mechanism. If you end up behind somebody, so let's say I get him. Let me get you down tight. All right, here. Right, I can take that same knuckle and hit him right in the base of his skull right here, really uncomfortable, right? Okay, so this one, more of a rub point, because you kind of got to get there first and rub it, or you get there and you push straight in, works good too. Rubbing and pushing, a lot of these points you can do either or on those. So base of the skull, not on the skull, just under the skull, at the mastoid, where the muscle connects to the skull. Take your knuckle, you could even do this with 4 knuckles, and just rub in that point. If you just need pressure to hold somebody, if you just need pressure to hold somebody down, well, you want to cuff them or till help arrives, just stick a knuckle or all 4 knuckles in that spot and just push down. Give a little rub on there if you want to be a little more irritating about it, and that'll make them want to stay there.
All pressure points are very sensitive, and the idea is to overload the body's nervous systems so that the bad guy lets go without even thinking about it. He just has to release because he can't handle it anymore. Now let's move on to some more striking techniques.
So upper body stuff. Now we talked about hitting with sharp objects, your elbows, sharp and strong, right? The tendency when people do elbows is to hit with the forearm. And if you watch like the ultimate fighting type of events, they're not hitting with the point of the elbow because it cuts. The point of the elbow cuts and it can injure vital targets in the body. So they're required to do more of a forearm type strike. But we're not. So if you take the point of your elbow and line it up, you can stick it in some of these same points, right? Shoulder places, good, right? Or you can hit with it. But if you're going to hit to the inside, you got to bring it around further so you get the point. Now, nothing wrong with just a good body block. Just drive the guy back with a good forearm strike. But it's probably not going to hurt him. You'll move his body. But if I want to injure him or cause him to have a nerve response, then I need to penetrate the body. And to penetrate the body, I need something sharp. So the elbows work the same way. So in close here, you've got this type of movement where I can put my elbow on his sternum and get the same effect that I had on the finger strike, right? Same thing here under the arm, right? On the back, right? Right here on the back, right where the scapula is. If you go like it's a little almost in the middle, but if you just anywhere in there, if you just put the point of your elbow and drive down, it's a very nervy area the person's going to move. Open hand strikes, like I said, I don't recommend punching, but we'll cover that. Open hand strikes are good because the palm of your hand is really a steady, strong surface that can take a lot of punishment. You got a little bit of pad there, and it's also got the backup mass of your whole forearm behind it. So I can take my palm and strike with it different targets, right? But notice how I'm turning my hand depending on the target because I don't want to injure my wrist. So if I were going to hit him in the chest, I wouldn't do it this way because depending on my height and his height, my wrist is kind of jammed. Yeah, if he leans in, see, I've just jammed my wrist and taken away the effect of the strike. So I would want to turn my hand, in this case to the side, so it fits the angle, which allows me to hit with the proper surface of the hand. So I can penetrate into the body a little bit better. If I were hitting the face, well, that's a time for this, right? Because I'm going to catch the chin and drive, right? If I'm hitting the groin, I'm probably going to turn my hand this way and come in this direction, right? Obviously not that way, but even not that way because it's going to dissipate over his legs. So I want to get to where I can penetrate the target. So open hand striking. Now closed hand striking, 3 main ones. Of course, punching, everybody knows that one, right? If you're going to punch, practice punching. Get a heavy bag. Learn how to punch without your wrist bending, right? If you just like throwing punches, learn how to punch correctly. Don't have never thrown a punch and then suddenly throw when you're going to break something. But punching is good just to practice it, because it's a difficult way to move, especially without some kind of protection for your wrist in your hand. But other ways of striking that are also effective. Hammer fist is really good. You can use a hammer in a lot of different directions. If he's in front of me, right, I can use, you can wind up and catch temple. You can catch the nose from different angles, right? If he's behind me, I can catch the groin. I can catch that knee. We talked about that opening up, right? Different targets. You've got you got spleen on this side, liver on this side, right? Collarbones, right? It depends on the angle you find yourself and what's open, where you're here, what you can hit. In this case, punching might be the better one because it's in close and won't have as much body mass behind it, right? But hammer fists are good that you can use. Like I said, rear, side, different directions that are open. And then you have back of the hand. Now, not really back of the hand, back of the fist. So you want to hit with the knuckles. So from here, you got this direction, of course. This direction could catch him. Could stick your knuckle in his eye. That would get his attention. Here, got temple is really powerful. Different angles. Solar plexus is good from some angles, right? From the front, probably not back knuckles because your hands are moving to the inside. So from the front, I've got my hammer fist, right? From the side, back fist, maybe a little easier to throw.
Anytime you can strike your opponent with an elbow, take full advantage of that opportunity. Elbows are sharp and powerful and can stop and stun an opponent quickly. The problem is that it may be hard to actually throw an elbow. So that's where these other techniques come into play. The key, in my mind, is use them all. Whatever it takes to make the guy disengage and allow you to gain distance and draw your weapon.
Then we get to fingers. Now, of course, your fingers, a finger in the eye is just really effective. So this is all geared towards putting your fingers in someone's eye. Of course, this is life or death type fighting. This is a type of technique you don't use in a common fight where you don't expect to harm somebody really bad, other than protecting yourself and maybe causing a little bit of damage. But eye attacks are pretty much fight-ending techniques, and so if you feel like your life is threatened, then that's the time to do something like this. So, and these can all work in close because it's just you getting your fingers into somebody's eyes. Now you can poke them in the eyes, you can claw, you can slice. Slicing is real good also because it can cut. So from here, if we're in fighting, maybe I just get my one finger in his eye. That's all I need. Jab him, stick that finger in his eye. That's all he's going to be able to think about for that moment, is protecting his eye, moving his head, getting my hand off of him, which may give me a window of opportunity. So that one, you can pretty much see that from every direction. Probably don't have to demonstrate that, but wherever you are, if you can get a finger to their eye, you can utilize these techniques. Any finger will work. Careful that you don't get your fingers near their mouth, because obviously if your hand's in their face and they're feeling you in their eye, they're going to bite your fingers if they can get to them. So be aware of that. Keep your fingers up away from their mouth.
Now, I'm sure most of you are aware of these striking techniques. A finger or a thumb to the eye or even the nose will help you end a fight and could possibly disfigure your opponent. Bottom line, if it's your life or his eyes, the choice is not really too hard to make. Now, coming up in this next section, we've got some surprising techniques that will help you move and distract the bad guy so that you can gain the upper hand.
Okay, and the next thing on here is called pinch points, and obviously the person has to have some sensitivity for these to work. So these don't work on everybody in every circumstance, but they are useful in a lot of circumstances. So it's good information to have, and it's a technique that is very humane if the person responds to it. So go through a few of those. A few ways you can pinch. One is 4 fingers like this, what we call a horsebite pinch, and then the other one is a thumb index pinch. Okay, depends on your angle. Now, points on the body that are sensitive to pinching, main ones that we're going to cover here, one is upper chest, right here. So you take this, grab upper chest, it's a little bit painful. Okay? Right here, either side. So this is a good, I like to teach this one for if someone's trying to intimidate you, just grab them back and say, you grab them like that. Just grab a big hunk of skin, and then you can talk to them a little bit. It doesn't really look like you're doing anything to them, but they feel it. Another area that's real sensitive is inner upper arm. Now, it may be hard to use all your fingers to grab here, so maybe you're going to do that one with just the two, because it's a smaller surface area, right? Grab this skin right here. It's just annoying. It just makes you get your mind off of wherever it was. And then don't forget, you have to follow up with other things. On the back, right along these long muscles on the outside the spine, even with the kidneys, those muscles right there, if you're able to grab those muscles, you grab, squeeze, and if you can put a little twist in there, remember that mechanism that we use for the finger locks? You could put that in there, right? It makes the person move, right? Remember, these don't work on everybody, but they work on a lot of the people. And if they have any type of sensitivity, unless they're just drug-induced where they're not feeling anything, you're going to have some effect on them. And the last one I'm going to show you is upper inner thigh here. The reason I'm going to show you this one is because it's great if you're being attacked from the rear and your arms are inside here. Maybe they've checked this move, they put their knee against you where they know about it, whatever, and you can't get it. But if you just take your thumb and index finger and you reach upper inner thigh up here, inside where the light skin is, right, and you just grab that, it's a very sensitive area. You're going to make them want to let go. Possibly you can get it with the horsebite pinch, a harder angle to have with strength. But the two-finger pinch works good at this angle, I find. The other reason I want to show you this is from the rear. If he gets me in a headlock, if I'm in a headlock here, this pinch right here, I can reach around and grab upper inner thigh and make him change his position. So he forgets about this headlock for a minute until I can get out of it. I need to keep him busy with stuff, All right, whatever it takes to get out.
Now, we're all grown up here, and I'm sure you've never thought about pinching someone in a violent encounter. I know, I never did. But once you practice these with a partner, you'll both see how effective they can be. Remember, use this as a first move, hoping to elicit some reaction from the bad guy, and then follow up with a disengaging move so that you have time to either draw your weapon or get some cover. One note, that horse pinch that he talked about, that's extremely effective because your hands are so powerful. But keep in mind, it's really hard to pinch yourself and to feel any pain. Grab yourself and pinch. It hurts a little bit, but it's not really the same. So you've got to try these with a partner, and you'll both see how much effect they can have on someone who's trying to do something to you. Now, so far, we've covered and reviewed many techniques that you can use in a struggle with an aggressor to redirect his attention or his focus away from your handgun. None of these are designed to knock a guy out or stop an attack instantly, except perhaps the rear snap kick, but rather to help you gain some time and distance to control the situation. Now, this next segment, we're going to discuss some techniques that you can use to regain control of the weapon if it has come out of the holster and it's in the bad guy's hand.